Hi everybody, my name is Jim. I'm the owner of Sprague Woodturning. Welcome to my channel. This week we're going to satisfy the natural inlay people. It's turquoise time. Now we haven't done any turquoise on the channel, and of course this comes from Jim D. Thanks again for sending along this beautiful inlay material along with all the other inlay materials that you sent. That's totally awesome. And what we're going to do, we're going to inlay this in the rim of this beautiful black walnut bowl. And the two of them together should be quite striking. So that's this week's video. If you haven't subscribed, please consider doing so. And of course, anytime I can get a thumbs up on my videos, certainly helps out the analytics. And of course, sharing my videos on your social media platforms is a big bonus as well. And don't forget, for the 25,000 subscriber giveaway bowl, we're going to be picking from the comments. So please leave a comment and I will answer every and all comments that come in. So, okay, before we get a glue block on the bottom of this, I want to get this mounted on the lathe, and I want to show you what I want to do with this to make sure that we can get the widest possible rim that we can end up with. So as you can see, I'm marking this so that I can mount it between centers. I usually don't do this. There happened to be a center mark in the bottom of the bowl, so that worked out just perfectly. And I just wanted to really maximize how big the inlay could be. So that's why I mounted this between centers. And I figured I'd just trim up the bowl a little bit too on the outside. Here I'm just putting indexing marks on the bottom of the bowl so that when I put the glue block on there, I can judge it better. And I also, I thought I'd show this. This is how I get rid of that little nub. Of course, this is hot melt glue that's in an electric frying pan, and it's very strong. 500. I get asked this a lot, so that's why I'm starting to incorporate this when I'm turning. But really, the way that I like to do it is I mount the bowl on the lathe. I have the luxury of a variable speed lathe. I crank up the speed. Once it starts to vibrate, I back the speed off until it stops vibrating. And then that's it. That's the speed that I turn at. There is no set speed that I turn at. Now, if you watch the gouge, you'll see that I twist it back and forth. If the bevel is, so when I first engage the bowl with the tool, you see how it tilted? So what I'm doing is I'm letting the bevel rub, and then I'm just rotating the flutes upwards until it starts cutting. As long as that bevel is hitting the wood and not the cutting surface, you're not going to get a catch. But if you come in and you're too far to the right, then you're going to have problems. Big ones. And of course, my index finger is also controlling the depth so that I'm not too aggressive with it as well. As long as you follow these practices, when you're using like a swept back grind like this, like a David Ellsworth bowl gouge, you shouldn't have any issues. Moving to the inside of the bowl, start the bowl gouge on its side. That way you get a little shoulder for that bevel to run on. If you don't have that bevel, again, this could be a very devastating catch. So as long as you have a bevel or an area for the bevel to run on, you're fine. And you can do it both ways. Sometimes I do a little pull cut just to get a little shoulder there. Sometimes that's easier. It just depends on how the wood is behaving. Not all bowls are the same. And I don't know if you noticed it there or not, but again, I'm rotating the bowl gouge back to the left, and then the bevel is running on the wood, and then Eventually, you rotate it to the right, and then it will start cutting the wood. You know, that's probably, I do it instinctively. I don't even think about, I know there's a lot of beginners follow my channel, and I don't even think about sharing that knowledge with them because to me it's the bowl gouge is just an extension of my hand. I don't even think about it anymore. But anyway, if you follow these practices, you should have some success. But even, you know, I've been doing this a long time, and every now and then things are going to happen. You're going to send shrapnel through the shop. So just be aware of that. And this little pole cut you see coming up, I've got the handle dropped down so that it's almost like a shear cut on the inside of the bowl. So here I'm sanding from 60 to 320. Again, you know, I'm using a 3.5-inch dimple disc from sandpaper.ca. Again, there's a link in the description for 10% off your next order. Just use code INLAYGYM. All right, so I thought I would show this. This is eventually going to happen to your sanding pad. I've used a lot of these over the years, and eventually they just degrade and fall apart. It's kind of the cost of doing bowls. So I just got a new one in not too long ago from sandpaper.ca, and when it comes, the arbor is separated from the actual sanding pad, and because I sand forward and reverse, these can unscrew. So what I would like to do is just take a little bit of thin CA glue and just put it down inside, not very much. Screw the arbor in. There, let that set up, and then you don't have to worry about it ever unscrewing. Using the 3/16 parting tool from Crown to define the inlay area. The best part of wood turning, first go to finish. I've yet to meet a person that says, oh, I love sanding. Sure brings that walnut alive. This bowl is pretty much flawless. There's no cracks, there's no knots. It's actually a very, very nice piece of wood. Now I'm going to use Starbond thin to hold this inlay in, so that's why I'm sealing this up good. I don't want any glue wicking through the end grain and ruining our bowl. Anyway, I will get this in the clean room and we will see you tomorrow. So it's the next day. Now I've got, I believe that's probably medium and fine. And what I want to do is mix these together. I think that'll give us a more natural look. So I'm just going to put it in here. And then we'll mix it together. That's the fine, the medium. And what I'll do is I'll just shake this up. And you know, there's nothing, if you've been here before, you certainly have seen this before. There's nothing special here, just put it in around the groove. You can already tell this is, I mean, this is just such a striking color, it's beautiful. So really nice in this walnut. I think we're gonna have to get the other pack. There. I think we got a good level there. I'm using the Starbond thin. No resin this week. And I recommend only using thin stuff to do this. That way it wicks down through the inlay. If you try to use medium or thick, you're probably going to have a lot of voids. So I only recommend using the thin stuff. And when I get my glue, I get it in the 16-ounce containers, and then I transfer it into these smaller bottles. It's easier to use that way. There, the entire inlay looks wet. And that's exactly what you want. So it's 11 o'clock, so I'll have a look at this later on in the day, but I might probably leave this until tomorrow to make sure that that CA glue has fully set up. But either way, I'll see you when it's ready. It's the next day. It sure is blue. I'm going to try and use the carbide on this. I don't know what kind of success we're going to have, though. After I've got the inlay cut back to where I figure it's probably best to stop before filling, I like to use the 6-inch 60 grit random orbital air powered sander before the next inlay. Get ready for second filling. You can probably see it there. Actually quite surprising how this cut. It's the first time that well, it's not the first time, it's probably the second time that I've worked with Turquoise, but I figured a larger inlay like this would be a lot harder to work with, because I could have swore that the stuff that I used before was quite hard. So we're just going to give this a second filling. Just fill in any little areas that there are that for whatever reason didn't get filled yesterday. We'll use the thin CA glue again. I put down a piece of paper today to catch all the overflow. I find it's just way easier to pick up that way. Now you see me tapping on the side of the bowl with a screwdriver. I get lots of comments about, oh, you should be using some sort of a vibrating device. And you know, the problem with that is if you try and use some vibrating device on the side of this thing, it's probably just going to kick the material out of it. And the other problem is if you vibrate this so that it's really packed in tightly, the glue is not going to penetrate through the inlay. So that's why I just use a screwdriver. All right, well, this is after the second filling. And man, is it ever vibrant. Really, really stunning. Zoom in here. So anyway, we're going to use the 60 grit to cut this back, and may have to give it another coating of CA glue. Hopefully there's no more big voids, and then we can get to finishing. From this point on, I typically only sand the inlay back. I don't tool it back. You know, the rim is flat, so I don't really see the need to do that. I don't know if you can see that or not. Anyway, I've sanded to 220, and there's a few little pockets here that need to be filled. There is some pieces of you know, turquoise is hard to get in this color. That's a solid color. So, you know, there's some small pieces of other black material in here that came with it. which I was expecting anyway. Gives it a more natural look. Anyway, I'll just fill these and then we'll be back and sand this again to 320. Actually, I'll probably go to 400 on this and then some finish. All right, this is the second coat of solid bowl finish by General Finishes. So I sanded it to 400 and I sanded the inside and the outside of the bowl again just to make sure there's no little glue bits, if you will. So that first coat should be still embedded in the grain of the wood. So hopefully this only takes 3, but it might take 4. The turquoise is so clear. Back side of the bowl. It's a beauty. See you, actually probably put the third one on later on today. See you later. Alright, so this is the third and hopefully last coat for this bowl of General Finishes solid bowl finish. Alright, we'll see you when I do the bottom. So there may be a few of you that want to try this method, but you're scared to actually part the piece off because you're worried about it flying off the lathe and losing your project. This was suggested by a subscriber. And so what I'm going to do is just heat up this putty knife with a torch and I'll drive it down between the glue joint and bring the bowl off of the waste block. And you know, yeah, you save your waste block. I don't really see that as a thing. I mean, it's called a waste block for a reason. I mean, this is just old whatever laying around. I think that's maple. So anyway, I'll show that. I don't do this. I don't typically see the need for it, but I'll show it for you guys in there in case you're scared to try this method. So I've just parted in a little bit. There's still plenty of glue. There's no way you could knock that bowl off of this waste block right now. There you go. Just be aware there is a risk of fire. But other than that, that's a safe way to do it if you're worried about parting it off the lathe and it going flying. So I've been asked to cover this again. This is the vacuum chuck system. So that's a vacuum pump in the back. Yeah, it's a Marathon and a gassed vacuum pump. And so obviously here's your gauge. You've got this valve here. So when it's in this configuration here, the air just gets pulled in through here by the pump. When it's down, then the vacuum comes through here. And this is the adapter that, just one-handed, sorry. This is the adapter that goes on your lathe. You can get different size adapters for every lathe. Let's see if I can do this one-handed. Anyway, you get screwed on the end of the lathe here. Maybe. There it is. It gets screwed on the lathe like that. This free spool's in the back, right? It's on a bearing. You have to have a hollow arbor so the vacuum comes through to the chuck itself. This is the 5.5 inch. I believe one way makes a smaller one and a larger one. And of course the adapters, you get different adapters to fit your lathe. That's all at one way as well. Limitations with this. So if you've got a bowl on here and it, you know, you're limited by how much this is, which is probably around 5 inches or so. I really wish that this was a couple inches further out. It certainly would alleviate probably most of the issues that I encounter with larger bowls. I'm thinking about getting the bigger one. So of course, the bigger one in theory should maybe push the bowl further off of the headstock. So, and the other thing too is The bigger one will give you greater holding power as well. If you're working on large bowls that are, say, 24 inches or larger, then you definitely would want a very large chuck to do that. Anyway, it's a great system. If you do bowls, I highly recommend getting one. And yeah, it works great. One thing that you should be concerned about, and this happened to me, I was doing this during a storm and we lost the power, and that was it. The vacuum pump shut off and my bowl went whoosh, that way. So probably don't do it in a storm, or if you're worried about losing power. Anyway, it's pretty cool. I've been using this now for 9 years without any maintenance issues. The neoprene seals here are replaceable as well. And this entire system I got from oneway.ca. It's not cheap, but you know what? It's a great thing to have. Side note, here's next week's project. We're going to do some coring. Should be beauty. All right, back to Jim D's bowl. If you're curious, that's I think that's a Richard Raffin spear point tool is what that is. Just to give the bowl a little, you know, little flair. All right, let's have a little last look at our bowl here. That turquoise is just amazing. The contrast between it and the black walnut is absolutely spectacular. Love it. Here's the very base. Ended up being 12 3/4 by 5.5 tall, I think is what the final dimensions are, outside dimensions. 3 coats of solid bowl finish by Journal Finish. Again, a beautiful finish. I'm going to be sorry when I run out of it. And, you know, this is a really good contrast. That dark wood and that beautiful turquoise is absolutely stunning. So whoever gets this is certainly going to love it. Don't forget about our 25,000 subscriber giveaway bowl. And that's pearl red with aluminum nuggets. And of course, black walnut as well. Once I hit 25,000 subscribers, I will pick from the comments from the videos, and I will ship this worldwide to the winner. So don't forget to comment. Also, don't forget about our sponsors down below: Designer Epoxy, sandpaper.ca, Starbond Adhesives, and Hunter Tool Systems. They're all in the description down below for your discount codes. So don't forget to check them out. Anyway, next week will be another resin project, and it's looking really spectacular. So make sure you come on back for that. Till then, take care, stay safe. Don't forget that bell, and don't forget that thumbs up. It certainly helps in the analytics. See you next week.